Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of MISMO Mic'd Up. I'm excited about this conversation for all kinds of reasons. Folks, meet Ike Suri. Mike is Ike, not Mike. Ike is the founder and CEO of FundingShield. Ike and I met, gosh, 8 years ago. It was like in San Francisco, I think, at a Marriott somewhere at one of the conferences, and we've been fast friends since. Ike is a board member with MISMO, and I consider you one of my personal board members. So welcome to my little podcast.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Good to see you. So cool to
Yeah.
see you on the spot. MISMO needs someone like you to lead it.
Oh, I appreciate that. And you were very helpful to me through this process. So let's get into this. Let's talk about FundingShield. When I first met you, you guys were just getting started, right? It's so cool to see winners come into this business from other industries and win in this business. And clearly you're doing that. And, let's start with just giving the audience an overview of what FundingShield is and what you do and why you're so critical.
Sure. So, yeah, like you said, I don't come from this industry. I come from technology in different industries, always optimizing different workflows, solutions, deliverables, and along with that comes, managing data. So by the time I got to the mortgage industry several years ago when we met, one of the first things we had to figure out was why is technology so disjointed, sitting in silos, and why it has always failed in one of the biggest GDP contributing asset classes and businesses. And very quickly, we learned by listening to clients that, how they operate had just been, like I said earlier, disjointed, isolated, building for themselves, but not for the whole, just building pieces, but not how the piece is going to fit into a bigger picture. And it very much resonated with me because of my past experience on having deployed solutions in Wall Street for NASDAQ deployment for stock exchange, dealing with data capture, transit, decay, risk, exchange, speed, accuracy, utility priced. That was the birth of how I got started, and then it led to American Airlines ticketing system, where airlines were going from tickets to ticketless, and again, it's going to data, and it's the same issues. And then from there to telecom, or to broadcast, or to surveillance. By the time you do that over 15 years, and then you come to mortgage, you've learned from lots of mistakes and some wins, and hopefully you're net forward and net positive. I think that's a moment in time with those kind of perspective and experiences, and attending. The first attendance I had in this industry at that time was MISMO. And when I got to MISMO, it was like an eye opener to see that the community is so invested into volunteering, contributing, bringing their expertise, their sweat equity dollars, even if the firms are not paying for it, and wanting to make it better. And it resonated at a moment in time saying we need to be part of this community, and we got to figure out and very quickly learn from what it really is desiring and looking for, and has no budget to do it.
Right.
And that put us into a perspective, into a direction of, all right, let's just go and listen to the clients, listen to the complaints, and put together something. That's the foundation of how we got into FundingShield and got started. And I can honestly say we're a poster child in doing so, because the opportunities we got to learn, the opportunities we got to contribute, the opportunities we got to talk to the best people in the market that were providing and contributing in such goodwill and good way, allowed us to learn and develop solutions that carry that MISMO, quality of delivering interoperability, cost effectiveness, cohesiveness, and that's how we represent ourselves.
Love it. I want to get into the problem that you solve in a minute, but you triggered a thought, and I've shared this with a few folks here in the last few weeks. I'm the new guy, so even though my team told me I can't play the new guy card anymore, I'm still the new guy here. But over the last 90 or so days, we've seen around 10 de novo startup fintechs come into the mortgage space with some version of an AI solution for a particular problem in the loan manufacturing process, right? Whether it's processing, getting conditions from consumers, whatever, it doesn't matter. What I was fascinated when I saw, and all 10 of these we saw sign up as new members to MISMO. So I started to do outreach to these companies, these founders, these CEOs, and many of them are like, 1, 2 people in the company. They're small, right? But one of the constants I saw, Ike, was I think 6 or 8 of the 10 are under 30 years old. Never been in mortgage, right? Probably don't even have a mortgage today.
Right.
A couple of them have come out of places like Meta and Google. And so I asked the question, I'm like, what led you to mortgage? Right. And so they researched industries that have problems still that could be solved with some AI tool, right? So I'm like, okay, they're smart. They kind of saw the opportunity there. And I said, well, what led you to MISMO? And this
Yeah.
is what was fascinating.
Yeah.
And they said in their research, what they found, if they were going to accelerate their product development, their fastest path was to do it on a hardened set of standards that have
Yes.
been running the rails, for decades, right?
100%.
And so, if these guys, this is the new wave of tech coming in, but based on what you described, that's what you did, almost 8 years ago.
100%. And 100% what you just said. The alignment with MISMO standards helps you leapfrog. So another analogy of that today is that you can go hire quite a bit of coders and put a lot of money to take your workflows required by compliance and so forth and start from scratch to code. Or now you've got Claude that can code it for you.
Right.
You're leapfrogging. So when
Yeah.
it comes to these standards, you can't make those standards in a vacuum. You're making those standards based on community contribution over the years and regulatory compliance changing over the years and risk parameters changing over the years. All those standards already are great assets sitting at MISMO, which it's no brainer for these young guys to, come in and leapfrog.
Yeah. Well, that was an eye opener for me, and it's
Yeah, I
cool to
agree.
see. All right, so I want to get into the problem that you solve for your clients, and frankly, you solve a big problem for your clients, but at the end of the day, you're also solving problems for the home buyer and the homeowner.
Yes. Yes.
Talk to us about the problem you solve and how FundingShield does that.
So FundingShield, cybersecurity, fintech, mortgage tech. I use the hashtags to makes it easier and quicker. So in essence, it uses real-time source data in order to avoid all risk, data decay, alterations, phishing, scam, and loss of control in the process to basically come to the closing venue and on real-time basis with source databases do verifications and validations to ensure that the transaction is clean of any risk, prevented from any fraud, and is compliant with the regulatory needs. And the challenge we had when we started doing that, the market was too disjointed to be able to provide this kind of a service. So you can only automate as much as the market allowed you to because counterparties are not automated, county courts are not automated. But by many different ways of having workflows around it and creating direct links and creating direct relationships, we got to a point that today we have the largest intelligent action-ready data and real-time verified data available, just like the stock exchange that we worked on many years ago and still works that way, that it's ready instantaneously to hit and work. And if it's not, here's the problem that we faced early on. In an industry like mortgage, where originations are key and so expensive and housing is so expensive, the cost of manufacturing is so expensive, margins have depleted, climate has changed, rates change, volatility exists, that no one's willing to just be told, or at least many years ago when we started, no one was willing to be told, great tech, I love it and everything, but now you're telling me I've got fraud and compliance issues, I'm going to stop. I don't want to use you.
Right.
You're not really adding to me. You're highlighting my problems, the closet I don't want to open, right? The skeletons I don't want to see. So we had to innovate ourselves and say, hang on, we got to do more. we got to actually make it available in such a way that we're not going to show the problem only and get paid for it. No one wants to pay anyway. We're going to have to give a remediation, a real-time solution to solve the issues that we're finding, and then it's got some weight and value. That allowed us to get to a point with technology evolving, getting inexpensive, decreasing the cost, throughput going up, and now you're really aligned with what MISMO's, again, like I said earlier, interoperability, ready, utility-based, mitigating the risk, fraud, and so forth, and it has its own ripple effects going down for the life of loan. And that's been our journey. And what we, in short, we do is ensure that the biggest loss in these transactions, yes, there's been application fraud that everybody's talked about that led to many disasters in 2008 and onwards. We're still dealing with those. And those have been solved recently with day one certainty solutions. But the next becomes the closing. And at closing, you've got reps, warrants, insurance, E&O, CPL validation, 50 states. And the biggest loss is not just reps and warrants. They can be remediated later. They become costly part of the business and housing industry, but still can be removed, and is happening now as we speak. The biggest is cash. When the cash is gone, there is no deal. There is no commission. There is no income. There is no sale. There's just lawsuits if it's stolen. And that number, alarmingly, has been going up dramatically. And for that, we've been publishing a quarterly report for the last 5 years. And it's published in Wall Street Journal and all the magazines like House and Wire and National Mortgage News. And we're not making that number up. We're only showing what we're processing for clients.
Right.
And our findings have fine-tuned into, okay, these are the elements that are more important to look out for. And it's alarming. 1 out of 2 transactions approximately still remain exposed to risk, fraud, compliance issues, neglect issues, data mismatch issues. And if you've got a backdoor entry into any one of those things being avoided and is so apparently openly available, you're bound to be a statistic very soon.
Sure.
And so that's the product we came up with first, to ensure that on a real-time, instantaneous basis, we can ensure that money's going to the right licensed party that has been verified, and we have transactional history on them, and we've got source data from where we need to get on them, from the depository banks or chambers of commerce. That's the first product we solved. Then it became beyond that. It became, hang on a second, what about the other issues? And there's about, if you look at the regulatory compliance issues that are closing, the list is pretty long.
Right.
It's longer than the CVS receipt, right? So, and so when we got into it, we said, we'll design it so that you can pick and choose like a sushi menu, all of it. And everybody came back and said, like, well, hang on a second. Aren't we allowed as lenders to manage how much risk we want to take? Yes, I know we got to do all, but I won't be profitable if I do all. I'm willing to do some that matter to me. The rest I'll manage differently the way I want to manage. And that list over time became top 8 items or 10 items and that's become our standard product called Guardian, which is where you've got the insurance policies, you've got all the CPL validation issues, and those items itself have become a standard product in the market that again is based on the same premise of real-time source data and real-time embedded solution available for free of cost. Now, that contribution has led to bringing down a lot of costs in various different workflows of manufacturing a mortgage. It's not just closing, it's attorney bills if it's not done right. It's accounting bills if it's not done right for reconciliation. It's again, resanitization before securitization, right? And the data when going into servicing. There's so many different ripple effects of costs that us being upstream, cutting it down to utility price. And the analogy I end up using in industry has probably heard it a few times, is like, 9/11 happened. You can't go back into a plane or airport unless you're totally sanitized and verified.
Right.
Same thing. You can't come into this closing with anything missing because it'll cost more later. First off, it's got the cash loss risk. And the second is all the reps, warrants, and their issues, right? And the second analogy to that, we saw it again in our lives, which was COVID.
Right.
You can't go walk around infected all over the place. You're
Yeah.
causing trouble. So
That's
the
right.
same simple layman terms is what, we end up describing in an industry where it probably works the best.
Yeah, I love the airlines analogy because you don't even think anymore about the measures. It's just, yeah, and I don't think, I mean, obviously those processes have improved in such a way from the first time we had to do the whole rigmarole, but you get conditioned to doing the right thing. So as you think about like your first year in this business and compare like the conversations you were having with lenders to what's going on today, I would suspect that you see a lot of the same, where it's just this is standard operating procedure. You know, nobody's blinking an eye. The process is doing what the process is supposed to do.
Yeah, for many different reasons, that has become true. Our journey has walked us through everything I said earlier. When the margins are low and you're looking for profits, the technology and solutions like this, not just ours, others too, in different workflows, allow a company to cut down costs. So that's the first and primary, desire and need and want for all operators and lenders or businessmen. The second in these markets over the last few years has become fraud. So automatically, with cutting down costs and cutting down fraud, you become profit partners in business. So the adoption rate, based on those reasons, has gone up. Even in an environment, we experienced something very unique in the market. We had an inverse relationship with the revenues in the market. For about 5, 6 years, we saw all our clients during all these volatilities lose 60%, 80% of revenues and staff and trying to come back, still losing monies trying to restate themselves. We had an inverse problem. Yes, our clients lost their 60, 70, 80% volumes during those times and hardships. And then those transaction counts went down for us too. But the new add-on of new clients wanting to do exactly what you just outlined, they must be slowly adopting these issues. And for the reasons we just discussed, cost and fraud, we became the profit partners for anybody new starting up or any
Right.
new financial institution backing in de novo. That you're not starting this until your house is in order, dealing with fraud, mitigation, cost, and audits, and so forth. So we've had that inverse relationship in a market that uh, we've been around 7, 8 years, and we've been, certified with MISMO for 8 years.
Right.
And we've learned a lot, contributed a lot. Obviously, now I sit on the board and brought in a whole lot of other players. And, we're really aligned with MISMO certified fintech deliverable solutions that it takes a village.
Yeah, it definitely does. Ike, I always enjoy our conversations, and I enjoy our partnership, our friendship,
Same here.
and I appreciate all that FundingShield that you guys do to protect, again, not only our industry but the consumers that we are privileged to serve. And I just
Yes, we are.
want to thank you for that, and thank you for sharing with us on our MISMO Mic'd Up podcast.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, come back next Friday for our next episode of MISMO Mic'd Up. Peace out.
Peace out.